The Lakers undoubtedly had the best offseason in the NBA. Just simply re-signing their own guys was going to present a challenge, but the Lakers managed to do even better by not only keeping some of their main guys, but by also improving what was already a championship roster. The Lakers may have won it all last season, but all year, they never had a consistent third scoring option, and they had a mediocre bench. Well, to fix those issues, the Lakers acquired two of the top bench scorers in the league in Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder. Harrell was the sixth man of the year, and Schroeder was second in sixth man of the year voting. Those two pickups were great additions to the Lakers roster. Additionally, the Lakers signed Wesley Matthews, a good 3-and-D player. They brought in Marc Gasol, a solid starting center, and they re-signed both KCP and Marquise Morris. And the Lakers were also able to bring back LeBron James on a 2-year, $85 million extension, and Anthony Davis agreed to a 5-year, $190 million max contract. By making these two moves, the Lakers have locked down their dynamic duo long term. I think it's safe to say that after the offseason that the Lakers have just had, they're on track to be the NBA's next dynasty. Generally, most people consider a team a dynasty after they've won 3 rings. This Lakers squad has already won 1, and I can easily see them winning 2 to 3 more titles. So in this video, I'll explain why the Lakers are a dynasty in the making. But before we continue, if you like content like this, please like the video as it really encourages the YouTube algorithm to recommend it to more people, and please subscribe as it really helps my channel grow. Now let's get started. The main reason why the Lakers are said to be a dynasty is that their main core of players are locked down long term. After signing the 2-year extension, LeBron James is locked down until 2023, and Anthony Davis is under contract until at least 2024. This means that the Lakers legitimately have a window of 3 seasons with 2 of the top 5 players in the league. Many expect that LeBron will decline at some point, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon. LeBron may be 35, but he's in the shape of a player who's 25. LeBron is still super athletic. He may not dunk as much as he used to, but that's only to preserve his body. At any given moment, he can still throw down a ferocious jam. In last year's finals, LeBron threw down a sick reverse dunk that didn't even count just because he can. He's still in amazing shape. LeBron is still easily the best player in the league, and as long as he stays healthy, that should still hold true 3 years from now. If the Lakers were smart, they'd keep LeBron's minutes down in a regular season to preserve him long term. Anthony Davis is 27 years old, and he'll be right in his prime at age 33 seasons from now. With a game reliant on ball handling and shooting skills as much as athleticism, AD should, if anything, get better as the years go by. The most important factor in winning a championship is talent. It's been proven time and time again that generally, the team with the best players tend to win a championship. By having these 2 superstars locked down for at least the next 3 years, the Lakers will likely remain title favorites for the duration of that time. The Lakers also have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope locked down long term as well. In free agency, they re-signed KCP to a 3-year, $40 million contract. KCP is one of the thankless, crucial role players that championship teams always need. He's a great perimeter defender, and he knocks down the 3-ball at a high rate. KCP is a good role player for the Lakers to have next to AD and LeBron long term. The Lakers may not have a bunch of their players signed long term, but they have the best duo in the league, along with KCP, on the same team for the next 3 years. This gives the Lakers an excellent chance to achieve a dynasty, and because they're so dominant, the Lakers should have no problem surrounding them with good complementary pieces every free agency, which brings us to our next reason, which is that the Lakers are attractive free agency destinations. The Lakers may not be able to keep the roster that they have assembled in free agency after this season. As we can see right here, Montrezl Harrell, Wesley Matthews, Alex Caruso, and Dennis Schroeder can all become free agents next offseason and leave. But as we saw this offseason, The Los Angeles Lakers can always keep at least some of their free agents and replace the ones that they lost with solid players. And when you're a team as good as the Lakers, players even take pay cuts to join your team. Montrezl Harrell said himself that he turned down more money from the Hornets to join the Lakers. Throughout the LeBron and AD era, the Lakers will always be attractive to free agents because they're a winning team and because of the Lakers brand. The reason the Lakers are tied for the most titles in league history is because the top stars in the league always want to play there. Players like Shaq and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar left their teams to come join the Lakers. Because they are so appealing, the Lakers will always be able to put complementary pieces around LeBron and AD, which will help them to keep winning championships as the years go by. And the final reason why the Lakers seem destined to become a dynasty is that there doesn't appear to be another team that'll beat the Lakers in the near future. Going into next season, the Lakers are the overwhelming favorites to make it out the West. A lot of teams in the West improved, but nobody in the West put themselves over the top. The Clippers had a solid offseason, but they really needed a great offseason if they wanted to catch up to the Lakers. Adding Serge Ibaka and Luke Kennard was good, but they're still lacking a playmaking point guard. Last year, the Clippers couldn't even meet the Lakers in the conference finals because they choked a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets in epic fashion. The Clippers could possibly get to the conference finals this year, but as it stands, they're not beating the Lakers in a 7-game series. After that, no other team in the West really stands a chance. Now, the Nuggets are really good, but despite how great last season was for them, the Lakers still took them down pretty handily in a gentleman's sweep. Furthermore, the Nuggets lost their best wing defender in Jeremy Grant in free agency, and that's the type of guy you're going to need in a playoff series when you're facing a player like LeBron. Now, Michael Porter Jr. could make a leap, which would help them improve, but even accounting for that, I still think this Nuggets team is years away before they're a serious threat to defeat the Lakers. The Portland Trail Blazers had a nice offseason. Re-signing Melo was good. Getting Robert Covington was huge for them. And having a healthy year of Nurkic, Dame, and CJ makes them much more formidable, but if we're being honest, they aren't serious competition for the Lakers. As long as they stay healthy, the Lakers appear to have another dominant run to the finals next year. Out east, there are some great teams, but I still don't see any of them as a serious threat to the Lakers. The Nets on paper look like contenders, but I think they have a lot of question marks coming into this season. Sure, they're extremely talented, but this team is relying on a 32-year-old, 12-year NBA veteran coming off a torn Achilles in Kevin Durant. When healthy, KD is a top 5 player, no question, but the torn Achilles is the worst injury in the sport. Most players who suffer a torn Achilles usually fall off a cliff. The only player that recovered from a torn Achilles and played at an all-star level is Dominique Wilkins back in the 90s, so KD is up against some really tough odds. I have no doubt that KD will always still be good, but I do expect his game will decline. Furthermore, he hasn't played in 17 months, so he's going to have to deal with a lot of rust. You combine that with the fact that Kyrie Irving is super injury prone himself, and the Nets have a lot to prove before they can seriously contend with the Lakers. The Bucks have been a regular season juggernaut for 2 years straight, but Giannis has gotten exposed in the playoffs because of his inability to score outside of the paint. Now, I do like the Jrue Holiday pickup, but I don't know if he's good enough to put the Bucks ahead of the Lakers. Then we have the Celtics. This is a very talented team, but they don't pose much of a threat unless Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown both become superstars. They're both very good, but as of right now, they're not close to LeBron or Anthony Davis level. The Celtics are a good team, but they're still a few years away from challenging the Lakers in my opinion. Lastly, the Heat are also worth mentioning. After all, they were in last year's finals, but I don't see them as a serious threat to overtake the Lakers. I do like the Avery Bradley pickup, but he isn't someone that's going to move the needle. The Heat mostly stayed the same this season, while the Lakers got better, so if the Heat do get back to the finals, expect the same result. Overall, the Lakers seem like favorites to repeat next year, And as long as they keep surrounding LeBron and AD with the right complementary talent, they should continue to win more championships year after year. Now, if a team was to form a big three, that could potentially threaten the Lakers' title chances, but that remains to be seen. Overall, I think the Lakers have pretty good odds to win multiple championships and become the NBA's next dynasty. But I want to hear what you guys think. Are the Lakers the NBA's next dynasty? How many championships will they win together with LeBron and AD? Tell me in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and enjoy the rest of your day.